way of expressing and co-creating with spirit. So I'd like to think of work in the sense of more a broader way of being and walking in the world. So in looking at this continuum of the connection between life and work, wonder emerges as an interesting call to action. Work carries a tight focus in its active pursuit of information, success, and the like, while wonder tends toward a more broad, receptive experience. So when the going gets tough, turn to wonder, wrote philosopher Parker Palmer. When the work stuff seems unfathomable, mundane, or difficult, I invite you to lean in and trust how you can use wonder to spark new insights, signs, and messages. In other words, get a larger view. Our human task in the work of our hands, hearts, and being is to extend ourselves beyond the measure of success or failure and step out of our busy pace so that wonder may find us. So this is a recurring theme throughout each of our lessons for the month of September. And very fitting that we begin with introducing wonder at work, since this is Labor Day weekend. And we celebrate the labor and the efforts of those that move mountains, work in government, work in the services, police and fire, social services. You think about all the many ways that people serve in this world. Now, one of the things when I was preparing for this talk, I looked at my old beliefs and some of the commonly held beliefs that people hold about work. So in my working days with the government, many of you know I worked for the Internal Revenue Service as a government bureaucrat, but I was an executive coach. Prior to that, an internal revenue agent. And this aspect of working with people in a coaching relationship, the recurring beliefs for many people were work is drudgery, or my true gifts have no value, or happiness only comes when I get that new car, I own a home, fill in the blank. And the mystery of it to me is that work is more than that. And if I had known then what I know today, perhaps my experience of work would have been even bigger and grander and more of a gift to those I served. Don't get me wrong, my first half of my career didn't become drudgery until I experienced burnout with the detail work of auditing. It was just not fitting for me. I kind of outgrew it. The parts that I loved was serving people, working with them in training, on-the-job training for new recruits and teaching and doing public workshops for the tax-paying public. And because of that, when I switched careers and went back to school to get a master's degree in organization development, one of the things that I realized was I really am much more suited to be with people in a career path. And that's where the juice and the passion was. And if I got paid for it, that was just a bonus. But you know, the old book, do what you love and the money will follow. That's exactly what I fell into in this second half of government service, because they created a job for me. I did such a good job, they decided to hire me away from the examination division into the human resources division. And so I was one of the first employees in the nation on an organization development specialist job description. Now, that was a miracle, because most of my colleagues I knew that were doing similar work were undercover doing the work because they were not on a formal position description that did that kind of HR work with different parts of the hierarchy in the organization. So team building and executive coaching and survey feedback meetings, those were all incredibly exciting to me. Work was not drudgery. I got to use my true gifts because they were valued by the organization enough to create a position description for me and pay me well. And happiness was in the regular, recurring, persevering service and the joy of creating, because every project, every quote assignment was fresh and new and different. Every week I flew to different cities to work with different groups and teams. And as Mark Nepo says, hard work is important. Know your true self. So when you have the gift of working, quote, to make a living, to earn money, to survive, know that part of this process is finding your calling and your passion. What really floats your boat? What were you designed for and meant for? So I wanted to read a Science of Mind statement that kind of underpins this whole notion. Well, let's see, where did it go? Too many papers. Here we go. The starting point of all creation is the word of spirit. The word is the concept, the idea, the image, or the thought of God. It is a self-knowing mind speaking itself into manifestation. The word back of everything is its initial cause. And this is from the Science of Mind textbook, the 1938 version, page 68, paragraph 5. But basically, this supporting paragraph really talks about the fact that we as religious scientists are unique and beautiful and wonderful expressions of spirit. And we create. And in that self-knowing mind that dwells within us, spirit always has our back and knows what to do. If you find yourself stressed or in times of worry or challenge, or perhaps some kind of drama is occurring in your life that is putting you off balance, all you need to do is stop and pause and breathe into life and recenter into the higher truth that never changes, which is you are a unique expression of the divine, having a human experience. And so I tell myself in those moments, this too will pass. And I get very still and quiet, either meditating or journaling or saying a prayer out loud for myself, or perhaps an affirmation that lifts me up and recenters me back into that higher truth that this life is good. For spirit knows only good. And as a co-creator with the divine, all I need do is to center into that silence within. And I ask, Spirit, guide me now, and sit very still and wait. And sometimes I have to wait a long time. And sometimes I have to do it several days in a row, or maybe a month or two. Because Spirit doesn't know time, that concept. It comes when I am ready to receive it. So one of the secrets and the magic of pursuing and discovering or resolving challenges is to center back into persevering on the truth. And whatever spiritual practices you use to do that, it helps ground you so that you can stand in your length and in your dignity, and in the wholeness of knowing you're perfect. Because spirit doesn't make junk. We were all born with this magnificent physical presence that is perfect. That is a wonder because it has self-balancing systems that help us to grow new skin, to create fresh blood, to sharpen our senses of sight, smell, taste. Our body is a magnificent, amazing piece of machinery. So our calling here on this earth is to use that body well and to use it up in joyful ways, in expressive, co-creative ways, in ways that we resonate with our unique gifts and talents, whatever they are. When we uncover and discover them, we get to share them with those we come in contact with. And know that as you recognize the face of God within you, you see the face of God in others. The ones that are friends, family, acquaintances, fellow students, fellow learners on the spiritual path. So living everyday wonder through work. There's a quote by Verna Dozier, "The Dream of God, A Call to Return" is the book title. I will know more and different things tomorrow than I know today. And I can be open to the new possibility I cannot even imagine today. So let me repeat that. I will know more and different things tomorrow than I know today. And I can be open to the new possibility I cannot even imagine today. It's a reminder that spirit creates through each one of us. And so we just wonder, we live in the wonder of that discovery. So going back to some basics, because there are probably 3 sections to this talk about good work, which is the talk title this morning, is in the beginning to really look at the difference in the distinction between work and wonder. Second, believing that wonder is an invitation to explore possibilities. And finally, behaving in a way that you know you will continue to grow and prosper because it's our very nature. So work is really, to me, more about passion. What calls you? What unique gifts can you translate into work where you are paid for it? For we all need to make money to survive, to have shelter, food, clothing, material possessions. But the measure of success to me is giving away your gifts and talents in a way that there is joy and lightness and passion and great satisfaction in whatever it is you've chosen as your career path. And that you continue to be challenged and grow with new opportunities as doors open. I had no idea when I first started working with the government that I would be switching careers midstream, nor did I think that I was going to end my career there. I had planned to, after I finished my master's degree, I planned to go on and leave the government and go to work in Silicon Valley and perhaps an HR job. Well, you know, what the mind can conceive, spirit has bigger ideas. So that offer to put me on the first organization development position description was not only an unexpected, but an exciting, evolving opportunity, but I got to be a part of 65 consultants nationwide that served in an organization of 100,000 employees. Traveling to places like Alaska, Puerto Rico. Funny, they never sent me to Hawaii, but they're part of the United States too. And all along the way, the curiosity and the wonder of the work absolutely grew my heart space in ways that I'm so grateful for that opportunity. So becoming proficient in work was important to continue to expand my skill set. So I always studied communication skills, conflict resolution skills. I took some classes in mediation for labor management meetings. Coaching was something the government paid for, an entire coaching course to get me certified as a leadership coach. That was a gift. And my goodness, all I had to do was sign a contract that said I would coach for 2 years in exchange for them paying for my coaching certification. Now that was a huge demonstration and blessing. So I know that there is this amazing opportunity that work can encompass. That would challenge you to think about your work career and what it was like, and what were the gifts along the way. Perhaps it was moments of struggle that really helped grow you in a deeper way to become more of who you were meant to be. Wonder is a feeling of amazement that's blended with esteem, caused by something beautiful, unexpected, or unfamiliar, or inexplicable. Wonder creates a state of awed admiration or respect. Often work is the thing that brings us closer to our desired achievements of material things. But wonder takes us somewhere special and mystical. And I am so grateful that I was studying this teaching at the time that new job demonstrated. It was as if all of the events and the situations and the people that came into my life conspired for my good, for my growth. So part of my master's program, I had to do a thesis or a directed research study. So I did a directed research study. And lo and behold, one of the largest divisions, the exam division chief, agreed to let me work with his entire 550 employee organization spread out over 13 locations in the state of California. I did probably, 40 team building sessions and another as many or more survey feedback meetings. I got to work with the executive development, his direct reports in executive development work and in strategy. It was as if this opportunity that was put in front of me came at the perfect timing, just as I was finishing group dynamics class in my master's class. And then just as I was finishing creativity in the workplace, I got job training in divine timing. And when I look back on it now, I think there is something very miraculous because I lived in the wonder of, it doesn't get much better than this, does it? And it does. It always does. So for me, part of living in everyday wonder through work or your calling is to notice how it expands you, how you stand tall in your authenticity without fear, that you have a courageous learning edge where you continue to grow. And through it all, wonder keeps you in that flow. So what is wonder? How do we maintain it? Through spiritual practices. When we get caught up in life and we get off balance, come back to a spiritual practice that helps you reground and center yourself. Be it journaling, be it meeting with a practitioner to do spiritual coaching. Or perhaps it's a meditative practice of just settling into the stillness so that you can eliminate all of the sound and noise and get down into the real truth of who you are for guidance, because it always comes. One technique I always use because it works, and there's been a lot of studies on brain chemistry about it, is if you have an issue you're grappling with, before you go to bed at night, pose the question to the universe to work on it while you're sleeping. I can't tell you how many times I've woken up in the morning and a brilliant idea pops into my head. Now, the part that I think is the challenge is to trust and know that that's possible and it can happen. You just have to know it in the deepest recesses of your heart and be mindfully aware enough to realize that these signals, these ideas, these situations or individuals are coming to you with solutions, options, and that we're always a choice. We get to pick and choose what works best for us. But definitely your subconscious works on issues when you just release, relax, and give it to the universe to handle. So the Spanish poet Machado says, "Wayfarer, there is no way. We make the way by walking." So no matter what the work, the task, the project, the calling, wondering should occur throughout every day of one's life. It can be applied to the great, the small, the substantial, and the mundane. The voice of wonder calls us out from among the crowd, not because we know all the answers, but because we are not afraid of the space that questions and questioning creates. The task of this life may seem overwhelming. Still, the reality that is ours to do is to wonder about everything, to see more of the divine design and bring forth the inspired image of humanity to this life and to allow ourselves to belong to one another. So remember that living everyday wonder in your work, in your calling, is really about enjoying the simple things in life, not just the work activity or the career actions that you must take, but to notice that when we pause and breathe in a nice deep breath of air and smile, there is wonder occurring all around us. On the way out the door this morning, I was rushing to get here timely, and my inner voice said, slow down, breathe. So I stopped and I took a nice deep breath and noticed there was a tiny little brown bird in my holly tree that was hopping all around and making all kinds of racket. And it just made me smile. In the rush and the hurry, I would have missed that. To me, that is a moment of wonder. Think about all the moments of wonder that you miss when you're not awake to the everyday, simple and mundane and the obvious in life. A warm cup of coffee in the morning, a walk at the beach, a few minutes of playing with your favorite pet, who, by the way, is probably the most perfect example of unconditional love. You know, you can do no wrong with them. Well, in God's eyes, you can do no wrong either, for you are perfect just the way you are. And life tends to shape us in ways that we think we're not good enough. And so the spiritual path is undoing all that shaping because it's false. And it can be changed. You can be reshaped anew into who you truly are. Reclaim your 3-year-old. Imagine what a 3-year-old does all day long. They're like little sponges that run around asking why and what's this, and they wonder at everything in their routine and their life. Because it's a time of discovery. Well, we never really lose that child within us. It's a matter of reactivating and reclaiming it. And wonder abounds. It is endless and infinite. And it shifts us into a place of gratitude and joy for all the prosperity in our life, all the abundant demonstrations that occur. We're so blessed to live in a country where there are labor laws, minimum wages, there's no child labor. We have wonderful services, roads that are paved, clean water. We are blessed to be where we are and to have the privilege of work to express our unique divinity. So I'd like to conclude with a story. St. Augustine was right when he wrote, "People travel to wonder at the height of mountains, at huge waves of the sea, at the long courses of rivers, at the vast compass of the ocean, at the circular motion of stars. And they pass by themselves without wondering at all. So let us not pass by any of this way of life. Let us invite wonder to join us in doing that which we know as work. And let's allow that work to be known as good work. The goal is not simply to wax nostalgic or poetic, but to recommit our work to the ebbs and flows of wonder. Knowing the power of wonder, we stop taking the amazing, precious, and wondrous pieces of our lives for granted. It is time to settle ourselves at the feet of the blessing of the work done in the world for what it is, an unfolding miracle. So don't waste another moment of another day. Don't throw away your miracle. Make this journey of everyday wonder leave us all equally committed to both the work and the achievements within us. May we always know the work the divine has begun in us as good, blessed, and beloved. So I challenge you to stay open to possibility, stay tuned in and mindfully awake to how life comes at you, works through you, and blesses you. I have a couple examples that I did want to share to conclude with. And one, I don't know how many of you have watched Netflix, but I have a documentary that I watched. And the lady's name is Sachi. She's the Japanese artist in Japan. She's a photographer and a landscape painter, but she was never seen and really not noticed. Well, in 2015, she has 3, by the way, in Japan, cats are a big deal. Lots of people have cats. Well, Sachi had 3 cats, and she invented this 3-dimensional wool felting process of creating heads of cats and framing them. And that's what waku neko means, frame cat. And she has a backlog waiting list of people that want her products. It's a labor of love. It takes her months to create one. She takes photographs of the beloved pets. And for some, they want them as a memorial and a memento, because either a cat is elderly or maybe ill, or maybe you just love your pet and you want to have a remembrance. But in any case, what I was really, really touched by was her story of her commitment to doing the finest, most beautiful, meticulous job she could. And if you Google waku neko, N-E-C-O, you will see her work. And there's the photographs of the cats, and here's her three-dimensional representation. And it's exquisite, down to the way the patterns of the fur is and the color of the eyes. It's meticulous, and she has become famous. But it took her perseverance and persistence of moving forward with her art and her painting and her photography. All of that prepared her for this particular offer in the world that touches people's hearts. Secondly, when we talk about wonder, we need to look at possibilities because there are endless ones. Tiny House Nation had a young couple with two little boys, ages 3 and 5, and 2 big dogs. Their rental house was being reclaimed by the owner, and they had to move out. They wanted to step out of the rat race, so they decided they were going to build a tiny house. 2 little toddler boys, 2 big dogs, and the couple. Now, most people would say that really doesn't work for a tiny house. But I'm telling you, the creativity of the builders to fit everything into that space for that family was perfection. Down to a built-in hidden drawer that held the DJ turntables and special LPs for the father, who was a disc jockey. So, you know, what I know is there is so much wonder in this world. We need only open our eyes and acknowledge it. And to know that wonder is something that we carry with us from the day we are born and never leaves us. So I invite you to activate your wonder in a way that you move through every day differently, and that you see and look differently. So I'm going to ask Amber to put up the personal application. This is an assignment. If you choose to say yes to it, you're welcome to, or not. But wonder has become the ability to reinforce feelings when we are mindful of surprises, awe-inspiring sights and situations, and other daily wonders of our lives. Starting a Moments of Wonder journal in the same notebook where you keep your work notes, tasks, goals, day planner, whatever, is a way to focus on wonder. Every evening, think back over the day, paying special attention to the experiences that engage the senses, the smells, the textures, the tastes, the sounds, and sights. Curate a list of the wonders and questions that stirred up the flame of, Doesn't that sound like a fun activity? What a beautiful way to end your day and fall into sleep. So here's the big question around that spiritual practice. I wonder what would happen if I, and then fill in the blank. It's a fairly common practice to find ourselves asking that question. I wonder what would happen if I did this or that. If you'd like to move from wondering into action, and then from action to achievement, allow the theme. Oh, I lost my page. Allow the theme for the month to cast light upon the many outcomes of your work. Prepare your heart and mind to share your findings with the spiritual community from Sunday to Sunday. Breathe life into what you've been wondering about. And most importantly, be ready to share the one thing you're going to do to live into that curiosity. Rather than make guesses about it, start with baby steps. Just by writing down, I wonder if, and fill in the blanks. It always begins and ends with dreams, for that's where our inspiration comes from. So I'd invite you to never lose sight of that. To keep the passion, the fire of passion lit in your life. through wonder, which only takes a moment to do. And those moments of wonder add up. So as we end this talk this morning, I'd invite you to say with me the affirmation. The doing of good work in the world is a wonder to behold. So repeat that with me. The doing of good work in the world is a wonder to behold. So join me in prayer as we conclude this talk and know the truth that there is indeed one source, one power, one unified creative force that indwells all living beings. That we are a part of this wondrous and wonderful thing called life. And that life is good. And I declare the stepping into a deeper sense of wonder, knowing as this practice blossoms, we expand and experience more love, joy, abundance, and the certainty that life is indeed good and that work is a passion. And that this gift of life is precious beyond measure as we trust in deep faith that co-creating with Spirit is the way to go. So we just release this word into the law, knowing it is perfectly ordered, that this talk has resonated and touched into your heart in some way to elevate your passion and joy and your sense of wonder. So we just let it be and allow it to unfold naturally in its own time. And if you agree with and can affirm this with me, please join me in saying, and so it is. Thank you. And I would invite anyone in our Zoom room or in the sanctuary to not leave this morning with a heavy heart. If there is anything weighing on you in any way, practitioners are available and can do a 1-minute miracle prayer with you. We can meet with you immediately after church. And with that, one of our spiritual practices that I absolutely love is sharing our abundance through tithing. Tithing works. I tithe on everything, and it has never failed me. There's more than plenty and enough to go around. So join with me in saying our affirmation abundance together. I recognize the presence of God within as a source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And on the screen, there are several ways that you can support our work at the center. You can do the old time send a check to 400 West Franklin Street at our center. Or you can text to give at the number listed. Or you can give at our secure website, montereycsl.org. Click on the donate button. But know this work, this work is really about deepening your spiritual path. And in the process, you are elevated, inspired, and prospered in many ways. It really is about elevating our consciousness to the truth of who we are. And when we give from that generous space, it doesn't matter the amount. We are blessed in the giving, in the action. So I want to thank you ahead of time for all of your tithes, donations, your time, your talent, the many ways that you support this center, because without you, we would not be here. And thank you, Zoom land, everyone in the Zoom room. I know we will never go back to not having Zoom because we have people from all over the country joining us in different time zones, but they are here with us this morning. And I'm so happy that you are here. Next.